All right, good afternoon, everybody. Apologies for the little late start here. That is on me wanting to get up that Intel preview on the page, as we'll be talking about here momentarily. But we are looking at Thursday, 2 p.m. 2 hours left in the trading day. A little bit of a sloppy trading day for the markets, and that's going to be the backdrop as Chris and I kick off our discussion on some of the upcoming earnings news and reports that are expected out here. Taking a look at some of the charts and trying to prep everybody with key levels to watch, areas that we could see tested for support or resistance, given larger moves around these fundamentals. So, with that in mind, we are going to welcome in here Chris, swing trader, as we prepare for the upcoming slate of news. So, Chris, how are you doing today? Chris in here.
I was talking to myself. I didn't. Yeah.
Been there, done that, Chris. So no judgment on that. How's your
I'm doing
on the
good though.
mic?
Yeah, I didn't know I hadn't had clicked that mic open, but yeah, I'm doing good. Just watching these indices, trying to make sense of it, seeing some of these sectors break down today, some of these risk-on sectors break down. So, what about you? How are you?
Doing good, doing good. Just kind of watching the market bleed a little bit lower. Obviously, having a difficult time finding any sort of positive catalyst to drive it. I mean, there have been positive catalysts, but that's always the concern, right? When you're seeing strong earnings and companies just selling off in the face of it. So
Yeah,
it's definitely,
definitely.
definitely weighing in on sentiment. We saw that on the AAII bull bear sentiment, big drop in
Mm-hmm.
that today. So people are getting a little bit more pessimistic about that. Certainly not at any extreme levels. So, but we were talking a lot about this on Tuesday with that potential for opening up of a little bit of volatility once we broke out of the range. So, before we get into the earnings, I'd be curious as to your take on the price action the last 2 days. And I know you laid out the key levels of the SPY that you were watching here. I believe that 736 to 742 was one of the key support levels, if I'm not mistaken. So, what's your take on the price action over the last 48 hours here?
Yeah, so let me start off on a higher level weekly time frame. I did have this weekly resistance range marked off from 756.70, 746.75. We are now reacting lower off of that range, and we are on top of that 12 period moving average on the weekly time frame. So as far as the weekly chart goes, the longer term time frames go, we're still within this overall congestion pattern, still contracting that range after this big run up that we saw over the past few months. Now, flipping over to an intraday basis and kind of taking a zoomed in look within that weekly formation, we were seesawing kind of back and forth over the past few sessions beneath this initial resistance range from 750.75, 747.85. Yesterday we dug deeper into it, held it, and this morning we gapped lower. I had this intraday support range marked off over here. It was from about 742.90, 740, 741, call it. We broke through that area, the previous swing lows that were holding the market up, seesawing it back and forth. And now we're testing this range here, this 738.50, 735.90 range. While we're doing that, we're beginning to form. It hasn't formed just yet, but we are beginning to see some resistance developing here from about 742.50, 739.40 on an intraday basis. And the way that I'm seeing it, if price holds beneath this area, which will also hold it beneath the 12 period moving average, we're likely to drift lower, break below the current support range, and make our way down into the 733.85, 731.25 range below. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on the SPY.
All right, so let's break into some of these earnings here, then, Chris. We'll be keeping an eye out on the markets as we go along, but Intel is one of the big names out. We spoke a little bit about it last week, but just doing a little bit of a deeper dive here. I did post some notes for anybody interested at 201. It went up. Consensus expectations for this afternoon is going to be 14.4 billion on revs. It's up 12% year over year. Earnings per share around 21 to 22 cents. Gross margins expected near 39%. Options, Chris, that's implying an 11 to 12% post earnings move. So we'll talk about that a little bit when we get into your levels here. But key
Yeah.
metrics to watch going to be data center and AI. Morgan Stanley's modeling 48% year over year growth after the 22% growth in Q1. Then you got your client computing area there, which is where we'll be watching the AI PC demand against management's warning for a weaker second half as memory costs are expected to weigh in on PC sales. Then you got the Intel Foundry area here. Investors want updates on the 18A production and external foundry customers. A lot of talk about them working with SK Hynix here in the Columbus facility. Margins, again, guidance was for 39%. That's going to be scrutinized pretty closely. We've got the Q1 highlights in there if you're just looking for sequential and overall revenue growth. And then the guidance provided by Intel was for 13.8 to 14.8 billion, 39% gross margins again, and 20 cents on earnings per share. So expectations obviously high on this name, Chris. Now, has pulled back a pretty fair amount here, about 40% or so from the highs back in early June. But we're talking about a 10 to 12% move on earnings here is what implied volatility is giving us. That takes us to about 88 and 112 there. How does that line up with the levels that you're looking at?
Yeah, so with the technicals, so I'm going to keep referencing the weekly time frame as well as the daily time frame since we're talking about earnings, and obviously earnings is a volatility event. It could create big gap downs, big gap ups as well. So looking at Intel on a weekly time frame, structurally, I don't like that price broke through this swing low here from Monday, the week of Monday, June 1st. At around 98.33. So we broke below that last week and closed below it, and we're now trading beneath that 12-period moving average on a weekly time frame. But taking a look at the daily levels, which I align with the weekly areas, are I have resistance up here at 109.60, and these are all week. They're all pretty much lined up with the bigger weekly levels. That's how I structure my daily levels. So I have resistance here at 109.60, 103. Followed by the 117.75, 111.50 range above it. We are beginning to see lower highs and lower lows form over here. The trend is beginning to shift lower. It's attempting to shift lower. And as far as downside support, I have 84.50, 79.60, followed by the 67.95, 62 area below, which lines up with the Thursday, April 23rd. Gap fill. So if we hold below these resistance ranges, we're likely to begin moving toward these support areas. We'll likely test this swing low over here. There will be some support around there, around the 89.59 swing low. Beneath that, it's going to open the door for these lower support areas: 84.50, 79.60, 67.95, 62.
All right, next up, we're going to take a look at Boeing BA. So this stock coming down here, trading right around 206. A little bit of downside pressure here as it breaks below the 200-day moving average. Some news out yesterday that China was pressing back against the purchases that they're planning with the Trump administration, looking to make sure that if they're going to be ordering parts or maintenance or service going forward, that there's not going to be some sort of jacked up tariff for such action. So something that was tripping up Boeing the last couple of days. Obviously, a little bit of concern going on around this, going into the print here. So, Chris, how are you looking at this chart, and what levels are you watching closely here?
Okay, so zoomed out look, taking a look at the weekly time frame. Structurally, we're in an overall sideways range, but we are beginning to see some lower highs and lower lows develop over here. Similar to Intel, I don't like how we closed below. We haven't closed below it, actually. We just traded through this swing low here at 207.95. So I'll be paying attention to whether or not this week is, in fact, going to close below that swing low, because that's going to confirm this lower high over here. Taking a look at the daily time frame, you kind of see that structure a little better. Lower highs, lower lows. I have resistance here at 216, the first area of resistance at 216.75, 211.50, which we tested, just barely tested today, reacted lower with the range above it at 222, 217.25. So the way that I'm seeing this, price would have to chew through these areas of resistance and ultimately break above 222 in order to test the 237.50, 231.70 range. And if we hold below these two layers of overhead resistance over here, which has that 12 period moving average intersecting through it, we're likely going to dig deeper into this support range. I don't think that the support range has much going for it anymore, given the deep tests that we've seen within it. So a break below that 203 level is going to open the door for price to begin trading toward the 190, 150, 187, 70 support range below.
All right, next up we got Corning, GLW here. Another one that was on a tear, got all the way up to 270, has since pulled back 120 points here. Most of these charts that we've seen here, Chris, have come in to test the 200-day moving average. Just feels like it's that heavy magnet once you see this sort of momentum. RSI is at 40 right now. Expectations are high for this going in. We'll see if some of the mobile glass and PC glass, if there is a slowdown because of memory components, if that's impacting Corning at all, should be one of the more interesting elements of it. But had really strong fundamentals. They are expected to continue, but obviously balancing that against some downside momentum here.
Yeah, structurally, all these names look pretty similar. They've all had a breakdown and they're all testing their respective support ranges. As far as GLW goes, Corning, so I have support here, I have resistance here at 204.50, 186. It's going to, if price is able to break above this, so price is doing something over here. Either it's if we break lower beneath this swing low, dig deeper into support at 148.50, this is likely, this area here from about 159 to 164 is likely to form a new layer of resistance. But conversely, if price spikes above this, breaks above this swing high, that's going to open the door for a test of the 204.50, 186 range. A break above 204.50 will open the door for price to begin moving toward the recent highs over here at 271.75, 250, 250. As far as support goes, I have 148.50, 136.40 that price tested and is currently reacting higher and kind of basing above. And the layer beneath it, these two layers of resistance stacked or support stacked on top of one another, the layer beneath it comes in from 129.10 down to about 120. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing. We are making structurally, we are making lower highs, lower lows, but we are coming into a pretty significant area of support over here, which may potentially lead to a break higher, but it hasn't confirmed itself just yet. I'd like to see the break above 164.50 to confirm that.
All right, next up, we're going to take a look at Coca-Cola here, KO. And would love your take, too, on the XLP, if I could throw that out at you, Chris. But first, because, I mean, obviously this will be pretty influential. We had Pepsi out a couple of last week, and, they had some issues with commentary around the price elasticity. So that's going to obviously be something that's closely watched. Pepsi has been on a bit of a downward push since their report. So first, let's take a look at KO, Chris, and then perhaps a quick look at the XLP, just on a broader look at staples.
Yeah, for sure. So structurally on a weekly time frame, this is in a pretty healthy uptrend, and we are now testing that 12-period moving average, and we're basing right above this bigger area of support. So if we take a zoomed-in look at it, we have a refined look at it. We have support coming in here at 80.50, 79, call it 80. So from 80.50 down to 80, that's the first layer of support that I have, followed by 79.50, 78.75. A break below 78.75 would open the door for price to test this third layer of support here from 76.70, 75.45. We are forming a bit of, we haven't confirmed it just yet. I'd like to see some new lows coming out of this resistance range, but currently we are forming some sort of a ceiling over here from 82.90, 82.20 on a daily basis. I'd like to see a potential break above 83, call it 82.90, for another test of the 85.70, 84.05 range, and a break above that is probably going to lead to all-time highs, right? Yeah, that's all-time highs.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. And taking a look at the XLP as well. I believe we were talking about this the other day. So we're in this overall sideways trend over here on a daily time frame. Currently testing support at 83.30, 82.15. We do have, and this move down into support is coming off of this resistance range here from 88.35, 87.15. A few sessions ago, we tested into it, broke down, and are now testing the bottom end of this overall sideways range. So if this range holds 83.30, 82.15, I'd be looking for breaks. This is my process for all these support and resistance areas. I'll be looking for price to kind of slow down, base, and then show me signs of it breaking above the prior candle highs at support in order to lean bullish on the sector and the individual components as well off of this support range. Right below that, we have 81.40, 80.50 as the bottom layer of support at the beneath this overall sideways range.
All right. Next up, we're going to take a look at Royal Caribbean, or CL, which is sitting here trading at 284 at the moment. A little bit of heavier price action as the oil costs are an obvious concern for them here. This has dipped down below 200-day moving average, but analysts remain pretty positive on it. Talking about favorable demand dynamics, and we've certainly seen that across the way. They've done a good job at managing costs, but will that fuel eventually nip them in the bud? That breakdown below 200-day moving average has me a little cautious here, Chris. What's your take on the chart?
Yeah, I think that's pretty much lining up with the technicals that I'm looking at as well. We did come into support earlier in the month, early July, tested it, moved higher, and then we just kind of seesawed right above that support range pretty much for the entire month since then, and are now forming a bit of resistance here from around, I'd refine this a little bit lower, it's from 295 to 286.15. We're forming a bit of resistance over there that's intersecting with that 12-period moving average. If price holds beneath this range, it's likely going to dig deeper into this 277.70, 266 support range below, and a break beneath the 266 area will likely get us down into the 259.30, 255 area. Now, conversely, on the flip side, I'd like to see a decisive break above 295, this resistance range, to open the door for price to begin moving higher and test this resistance range here from 326.85, 317.50.
All right. Next up, then, we are going to be taking a look, getting into one of the semi-cap equipment players, Clack. Just had some pretty big numbers on the CapEx spending from Taiwan Semi, of course, Google last night, and that is expected to continue. Coming into some key support levels on the trend, obviously had that one blip higher on the rip out of the, and I'd be curious at what your Bollinger Bands look like, Chris, because my assumption is it ripped out of the Bollinger Band on that push up to 305. Now it's probably coming back in and testing the low end of that move, I would think, around the 50, just below the 50-day moving average. Haven't been able to recover the ground above that area there. So it's good. Looks like this is going to be a key test to see whether or not it could hold the low end of that trend line, of that trend path that it's been on.
Yeah, so early last month, or actually end of last month, June 30th, we poked outside those the upper Bollinger Bands and retraced, forming a resistance range from 307.35 to 279. It's a pretty wide range. From there, we traded lower, broke beneath these swing lows over here at around 235, and doing so, we formed new resistance at 247.50, 230.35, and this resistance range is currently controlling price action. Ideally, I'd like to see price move back into that range, break above that 12-period moving average, and break above the upper end of that range at 247.50 for it to potentially make another run at 307.35, 280, this overall resistance range from 307 to 280, and followed by new all-time highs. However, selling pressure beneath this range is likely going to dig prices deeper into the 200 to 188 support range below. A break below 188 would open the door for price to test the 174, 164 support range below. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on there. We are making lower highs and lower lows. So until that changes, until that structure changes on the daily chart, I'd be leaning on resistance areas to continue this daily trend lower.
Sorry, yes, I had the mute issue. Yes, another two players coming at you with STX, obviously. Remember, he doesn't need an introduction here. It's been one of the strongest areas in the market over the last couple of months. Monthly, obviously a little weaker, but we're getting a nice little bounce back. And I'm also going to flip the question to you on Micron MU as a secondary on this, Chris, because I know we were talking about it in the room earlier. So I want your feedback on Micron as well. But first, STX. Setting them nicely for a little bounce back here, I would say, climbing over the 50-day. Obviously, again, CapEx numbers a nice tailwind for them, and they're certainly coming in high.
Yeah, so what I'm seeing on here, we're currently trying to break above this swing high here. The swing high coming in at 937.50, but this area is also lined up with a resistance at 998.50 down to 916. So it's a pretty significant area. It is a resistance range which led to this move lower into support. It is a resistance range which is pretty much controlling the downward price action that we've been seeing recently. So it's a question of, is this a pullback in the context of the downtrend, the daily downtrend that's beginning to develop, or are we going to potentially break through resistance and start making new highs, reversing the daily trend higher? At this point, we haven't made any higher lows just yet, so I'll be watching to see what we do here at this resistance range, 998.50, 915. A break above that would get us into the 1145, 1050 resistance range above. If this layer of resistance holds, we're likely to shoot back lower into support from 764 down to 695, and then a break beneath 695 would likely get us moving lower toward the 579, 539.75 support range, which lines up with this gap from late April.
All right, keeping on the chip front here, we get another semi-cap equipment player. That is Teradyne, TER. A little bit of a weaker chart, I would say, when comparing it to Clack here. But what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so let's see. I have resistance here at 399.80, 362.75, followed by the upper area from 487.90, 440.60. If we hold beneath this range over here, break beneath that 12-period moving average, break beneath this little base that's forming over here, if we break beneath those lows, we're likely to begin moving toward the 296.50, 263 area. And then as far as the lower layers of support go, I have one at 225, 210, followed by the 199, 90, 182 support range below. These are still a long way away, but it is some support areas that I have marked up and I'm paying attention to.
All right. One of the most recently hottest stocks in the market, but has cooled off a little bit. Visa, ticker symbol V, of course. We're going to get into MasterCard in a little bit later too, but reporting next week. Recently, it hit a 52-week high, got up to right around that 365 area, pulled back about 15 points here. So obviously a little bit of profit taking going on in front of next week's report. But what's your thoughts on this Visa chart, Chris? Are you worried that it's a little overextended over the 200-day moving average, or how do you approach stocks like or charts like this that have seen a break above a key area like that?
Yeah, so what I'm seeing on here on a weekly time frame, if I zoom out of it, we're in this overall sideways range. The short-term trend did extend. On a daily time frame, we'll see it. But we did jam into this weekly resistance range here from 375.50, 362.70. And we're now we went into that a few weeks ago and we tested, moved back higher, and we tested again this week, and now we're seeing some selling pressure develop within that area. So taking a look at the daily time frame, you see that reaction lower. We tested, came down, hit that 12-period moving average, ran higher again, tested it again, and now we're testing that recent support range that formed on the way up from 348.50, 344.40. So for me, what I'd like to see to lean bullish is a break above these tops over here. 365 for starters, but ultimately it has to break above the 375.50 range in order to continue that week or break out of that weekly base that we've been in and continue this daily trend higher. However, if we were to hold beneath this range, beneath this overall resistance range over here, and ultimately break below 344, that's going to open the door for these lower support areas. The first one coming in from 332.50, 325, followed by 322 down to 317. And one thing that I did want to point out as well on this one, we are seeing a bit of a negative divergence develop. So if you take a look here at the momentum at the RSI, it's making a lower high. Price is making equal highs, if anything, a slightly higher high compared to this high over here. But the RSI is negatively diverging from price, showing a lack of momentum and making a lower high. So we are beginning to see a negative divergence developing there on Visa on a daily time frame.
All right, next name up that we want to talk about here is, excuse me, hold on a sec, Vertiv Holdings here, VRT, key AI infrastructure play on the data center build out. Again, CapEx numbers have been coming in strong, which bodes well for that group. But this is one that's been going in a sideways direction, trending a little bit down below the 20-day moving average, much like the broader market as a whole. So what's your thoughts on the chart for VRT here, Chris?
Yeah, so I'm seeing a similar picture. We've been in this overall sideways range here since about April, since about mid-April. Within the sideways range, though, we are beginning to see some lower highs develop. And this second lower high that developed lines up or created this resistance range here from, let me refine that a little bit, from 318.85 up to 338. Price is seeing some selling pressure. It kind of reacted just beneath that range, is seeing some selling pressure coming in beneath it. There's another layer of resistance here at 379.95, 356.25 that price would have to break through in order to continue this recent run up that we've been seeing. This is also within an overall sideways range, consolidating, contracting the range, just like the S&P, and it's actually forming a lower high here on a weekly basis as well. So it's kind of setting up for that next move. We would have to break beneath the range lows or above the range highs to get a directional read on it on a longer time frame. But if we're taking a look at the weekly time frame, it's making lower highs, lower lows. As long as we hold beneath this resistance range here at 338, 318, that's likely going to open the door for price to begin trading lower, potentially test these swing lows here at around 281, followed by the lower support areas 262.50, 252, followed by the 238.20, 227 range.
All right. Next up, taking a look, we're going to jump into ARM Holdings ARM. Obviously, key on the chip design front. Also have ambitions of making their own chips these days. So a lot of questions going on around ARM Holdings. This is a stock that ran all the way up to that 450 area, since pulled back in about 30%. Very similar story to what we've seen on a lot of these charts, right, Chris? Especially on the chip front. Now starting to come back in towards key support down here, though. What areas are you watching closely for ARM Holding going into its
Yeah, so this one is a little bit more clear cut. It's not as messy as some of these other charts that we've been looking at. Price over here put in this high, this major high at around 450. That high took out this key swing low that was holding the market up at around 297.30. As it did that, as it broke lower and broke beneath that swing low, beneath that current floor, it formed two layers of resistance here. First one, 361.95, 334.25, followed by this lower area that lines up with that 12 period moving average from 311.50 to 299. We do have some support over here that we're currently trading in, this little area from 272 down to about 268. If we see continued pressure beneath this initial layer of resistance from 311 to 298, and we get a break beneath that 268 level, that's likely going to open the door for price to begin. As a first stop, it's likely to test this swing low here at around 243. And then ultimately a break beneath that is going to form another lower high over here, leading to a test of the 215, 193.90 support range below.
All right. So next up, we will take a look at Carvana, CVNA. Now, I did just want to pull up this chart. Always a great trader. One of the reasons why is, well, the short interest is down to 11% now on Carvana, CVNA. Obviously, a little bit of a read-through for the consumer and everything. This is a stock that has also pulled back, coming in for a key test near the lows around 55 here, Chris. So what are you thinking about on Carvana?
Yeah, so I'm seeing an overall sideways range on here. We did run up and are now kind of consolidating over here within this overall sideways range. Taking a look at it on a daily basis. So price it's a little wicky, it's a little messy, but price is testing this overall bigger area of support here from 60.40 down to about 54.45. Since it's so big, let me see if I can kind of refine down into that range. I'd probably refine it down to this level right there. Okay, so I have support here at 60.18, 56.75. As price fell lower, it did form some resistance over here at 67, 65.80, 63.77. Current ceiling is 65.80, 63.77, followed by 60.18, 56.75 as a current floor. If this range holds, we'll likely move higher, test 65.80, 63.75, and then a break above 65.80 will likely lead to a move into this upper resistance range from 72.77, 69.90. A break above 72.75 will likely take us into this area here from 81.95, 77.90. 77.90. So not seeing much of a clear-cut trend on here. We're in this overall sideways range, testing the lower end of that range. If we were to hold it, we'll likely test these resistance ranges above. And let me see below it, if we were to potentially get below it. A potential break beneath 56.75, a decisive break beneath it, would likely lead us into this area here from 52.20, 50.70. Yeah, 52.20 down to 50.35. So that's pretty much what I'm seeing on here.
All right, moving on. We're going to break in. We got 4 of them coming up here. First, hyperscaler that we'll be looking at, Meta. Obviously, a lot of concern around Google's spending. Meta's been even more of a concern for folks here. This had recently broken up above its 200-day moving average, now back down below, sitting on the 50, right around the 600 psychological level. What are you looking at in the Meta charts here, Chris?
Yeah, so as far as Meta goes, I was watching that the other week. Price poked outside of that upper Bollinger Band into resistance, reacted lower. So the initial test was on Friday, July 10th, reacted lower, then tested that range again, and then broke down from that point. So I just wanted to point that out. These are pretty powerful setups whenever you get price poking outside the upper or lower Bollinger Band, coming into a significant area of support or resistance. So we had that setup over there. But just looking at the raw trend, raw support resistance areas, we obviously have this initial range from 691.50, 669, followed by the lower area that just developed a few sessions ago from 655.90, 643.20. Price is now testing its lower area of support here from 630 to 581.75. This may potentially lead to another retracement higher to test whether or not it's done selling within this range. We have the 12-period moving average at 633 with the resistance range right above it from 655, 643. So keeping an eye on what price does here at support. A break below 581.75 would open the door for price to test the 563.30, 551 range below. Overall sideways range on Meta.
All right. Other hyperscaler coming out same day, Wednesday afternoon, next week, Microsoft. MSFT test there. Been getting hit with a lot of concern around the software side of the business there from Microsoft, adoption of Copilot 2. So this has been one of the weaker names in 2026 for the markets. Chris, what's your thoughts on Microsoft? Do you see any turnaround here?
Yeah, so quick another example. We had a poke outside the weekly Bollinger Bands into a weekly area of resistance just a few weeks ago, and then we ran lower from there. So this weekly time frame, it's trending lower. We're seeing lower highs, lower lows develop. Let me take a look at it on the monthly time frame. On a monthly time frame, we are coming into some, we don't have significant support on a monthly time frame until we get down into the 338, 309 area. Now, taking a zoomed in look, that's a ways away. So taking a zoomed in look on it, I have new resistance here that formed from 405 down to 392, followed by the upper range from 417.15, 411.75. If we hold beneath this range, we're likely going to test this lower area here from 362.75, 349.20. This move higher that we're seeing here can be a potential pullback in the context of this recent trend that we've been seeing lower if we hold beneath this initial overhead resistance range. So first target is this 362.75, 349.20 range. A decisive break beneath 349.20 would open the door for the 331, 324.40 support range below.
All right. So moving along now on to Thursday here, Qualcomm, QCOM, yet another chip player. I think you can kind of see the theme of next week. A lot of big chip players. Next week's going to be huge because between that, the Fed, and everything, that's really going to set the tone for August into September, obviously, for the end of the summer. But Qualcomm, another one. This one's already at its 200-day moving average, so maybe it's getting out ahead of the crowd. What do you think of it?
Yeah, so structurally on a daily time frame, we're making lower highs, lower lows, trends lower on a daily time frame. We have couple resistance areas here. One that's about to form here if we hold below this, if we hold below 178.65. So I have this initial range here, resistance potentially forming from 178.65, 170.70. A break above that, we have this area here from 196.10 to 187.50. Both of these resistance ranges are pretty much lined up with the lower highs that have been forming. If we hold beneath resistance, we're likely to begin moving lower toward this support area here from 151.50, 144. And a break beneath 144 would likely get us into the 136, 132 support range below. Momentum is showing the same picture. Lower highs, lower lows, confirming what we're seeing on price.
All right, next one up, another credit card company, MasterCard. We talked about Visa. MasterCard didn't have quite the run Visa did, but pretty solid pop there up to the 550 level, now pulling back. Yet another one sitting on that 200-day moving average, Chris. Big trends in play going into this earnings season, obviously.
Yeah, for sure. MasterCard is sitting on this, on its initial support area here from 523.25, 515. A few sessions ago, it reacted lower off of this larger resistance range here at 561.90, 551.90. So my current ceiling is this range here, the initial overhead resistance range, current floor 523.25, 515. A break beneath 515 would likely get us down into these highs right over here, and we have support here from 496, 486. That's what I'll be keeping an eye on if prices were to break below 515. Conversely, a break above, if price reacts higher, breaks above 562, will likely lead to a move higher into this overall resistance range here at 589.65, 577.50.
All right, next up, we're going to take a look at coin now. The Clarity Act, I was just talking with Carmine, that is expected to fall short here of the votes necessary to pass it. So it's not going to be something that gets done until the fall. Talks with Carmine. Earnings next week. Clarity Act might hold more of waiting on it, as well as just overall geopolitics, Chris, depending on what Bitcoin is doing. Naturally, it correlates pretty heavily with that. But what are you seeing on the chart? I guess what are you seeing on the Bitcoin chart real quick too, if you don't mind looking at that?
Yeah, we'll flip over to that. Let's take a look at, this is pretty similar actually to the Bitcoin chart. Taking a look at it on a weekly time frame. Price, let me turn that back on. Trying to get rid of the Bollinger Bands. There you go. So price is potentially forming a lower high over here. Price wicked higher a few weeks ago, hit that 12-period moving average, shot lower. We're in this overall support range here on a weekly time frame. Very similar to Bitcoin actually, but are being held down by this resistance range that's forming around that 12-period moving average. So taking a zoomed in look into that resistance range, that range comes in from 196.60, 186. A break above that would likely get us into the 222.35, 207.65 range above. We'd have to break above this overall cluster here, which is that weekly sideways range, in order for a meaningful move higher. However, as long as we're trading beneath these resistance ranges, we're likely to test lower into, so we have support here that we're basing above right now at 160.50, 152.50. A break below 152.50 will likely drag us lower into, we'll likely test these lows here at around 144, and a break beneath that will likely get us into the 129.45, 114.50 range. And if I just want to refine into that a little bit. So if I refine into that range, we have support here from 132.75, 126 below 152.50.
All right, and then the
And I could
last,
flip over to Bitcoin as well, Gavin, if you'd like.
yeah, let's take a quick look at that.
Yeah, so over here on Bitcoin on a longer term basis, you're kind of seeing the same picture as coin. We formed prices sitting here on support at 58,725 down to 52,550. We are now testing this resistance range here at 67,250, 63,235, lined up with that 12 period moving average on the weekly time frame. A break above this is likely going to lead to a run into the 78,120 range. 78,120 down to 73,500. I'd like to see a break above this swing high here at 83,270 to get us out of this sideways range and open the door for a test just to change this overall structure, because right now we're in a weekly downtrend. A break above this high would likely get us out of that downtrend, would likely terminate that weekly downtrend, ultimately leading to higher prices. But we have to chew through these areas of resistance first.
All right, and then the final two names we're going to be going after here, two more hyperscalers out Thursday afternoon. First one up, Apple, arguably it is the strongest name out of the Mag 7, and that's probably because they're the only one that's not spending an outrageous amount of money here. We'll see if their patience pays off, but a pretty good upward trend here has been giving up some of those gains over the last 3-4 periods, Chris. So what levels are you looking at closely for Apple going into the report?
All right, so taking a look at the weekly chart, zoomed out a little bit. This week we did have a pretty healthy run higher, but this week we're seeing some indecision. We're seeing an inside bar forming. We haven't closed just yet. We'll be closing tomorrow. But so far we do have an inside bar forming on a weekly basis, showing us signs of indecision. At the same time, momentum on a weekly time frame is diverging from price, negatively diverging from price. Price is making higher highs, higher lows. You're seeing momentum over here making a lower high, so it's not really confirming that move higher that we're seeing. Taking a look at it on a daily basis, on a daily time frame, as we formed that inside bar, as we fell below, as we weren't able to break above last week's high, we formed new resistance here at 335 to 329, followed by this support range just beneath it from 314, 307.05. So I want to see what we do here at support to determine whether or not we're going to continue this run higher, or are we going to break lower and test these lower support areas. If price gets down into support, holds it, it's likely to test this newly formed resistance range, but a break below 307 is going to open the door for price to test the 294.40, 289.20 range, followed by the 283.75, 274.20 support range below.
This was supposed.
All right, finally up to the last name. Nice thing is too, Chris will be able to go back over Amazon and Apple, of course, next week. You're not off on your vacay next Thursday, right?
So no, I will be. So I'm leaving. Yeah.
Okay.
So next Tuesday, we could do next Tuesday, probably as the last session.
Fair enough. Well, then let's hit these right. What do you think of Amazon here? You got another one testing that 200-day moving average.
Yeah, it's on key support. Can't help but noticing this weekly resistance range that's potentially forming over here. Pretty wide area, but it's from 258 down to 244. Taking a zoomed in look at the daily time frame, that overall range lines up with these two layers of overhead resistance that just formed. The first one from 252.90, 246.40, and then we have another layer above it from 261.20, 256.50. So we did have this run lower from the recent highs, and I'm trying to determine whether or not this move higher was just a pullback in the context of that recent newly developing daily downtrend. I have support here at 232 to 225. If this level holds, we'll likely test higher. to see if we're done with the selling pressure at these resistance ranges. But if price were to chew through it, break below 225, it's likely to get us down into the lower support areas here, 209.75, 205, followed by the 201.50, 196 range below.
All right. Well, I think that is going to do it with the names that we had on the agenda to discuss. We will be posting these along with all the key levels there for everyone to have on their radar. Chris, anything else before we let you get going here?
No, not much else besides what we talked about. Obviously, I'll be paying attention to earnings, seeing the price reactions coming out of them over the next few weeks. The Fed next week is pretty significant. And I'll just be watching some of these risk-on sectors to see how they're going to act, specifically the XLK, XLC as well, financials, consumer discretionary, XLY, because if we're going to continue lower, you're going to see it developing. You're going to see it developing in tech first, and then the rest of those risk-on sectors. So that's what I'll be watching.
All right. Well, as per usual, Chris, appreciate you taking the time, coming on, jumping on, breaking all these charts down for us, because I know that your levels have been working out real nicely for anybody that's been following along. So if you haven't, definitely go back. We've been posting them, so right in the receipts. Feel free to take a look at what we've been putting out there, and hopefully you're finding it helpful for your trading. So, Chris, you have a good one. We look forward to chatting with you on Tuesday, and we'll be following your stuff on the page, of course.
Awesome. Sounds good, Gavin. Talk to you soon. Thanks, guys.